was there, and I bring this up because, especially in the light of COVID, right, it's a lot of people who are transitioning to do something that they are restless about, right? What were your biggest fears? And at some point, did you ever say, hey, actually, especially in the early days, I wish I could go back?
I'll tell you the fun story, right? It was, so I left February, right? Pretty much last day of February. And I started at Traction because my co-founder was already there, right? I started at Traction literally first working there in March. And that was pretty much like, when the COVID wave started. And so it was pretty much the worst possible time to
actually be starting a business,
left, to actually be starting a business that was going after physical sellers.
Exactly.
It was literally the worst possible time. And so literally my first 2 weeks into starting, it looks like there's going to be a lockdown, right? COVID is spreading, etc. And so, there was really no time to feel and get your way into this thing. We had to, what we were building before then was an inventory solution for physical sellers. And so we basically are look, if we don't pivot, even this is pivot before launching, literally. If we don't pivot this thing, we're not going to have a business to run, right? So 2 weeks in, it was really calling all the engineers and saying, guys, we're going to have to completely tweak what we're building because it looks like there might be a lockdown, and essentially our customers won't be able to operate. And so I think 3 weeks in or 4 weeks in, so 3 weeks in, we had to almost remote work. And I think a week or two after, the government declared a lockdown, right? And so we had to pretty much get all the engineers work day and night, and we kind of launched essentially a very quick e-commerce platform for businesses at that time, right? Because that was the only thing that was running and operating. And so it was it was literally we weren't sleeping, right? All of that period because, it was you had no choice. And so that was the first acid test, right? Of this stuff isn't it's not, it's fun, but it's not, it's, you don't really have luxury of time or, of anything in this. So that was my first welcome. And I think that, while it was tough, but it was also a bit adrenaline kind of pumping, right? Where you now have to be really solve real problem. We had, I think then about 12 people on our team who we needed to pay salaries every day.
Oh, wow.
And we hadn't raised, right? So we were we hadn't raised money, and so we were pretty much running the business out of savings, and so for the first 12 months, myself and my co-founder didn't take a salary.
Oh, wow.
And that wasn't fun either because just had had a baby that was transitioning and growing, and so we had to just completely leave of our savings for the first 12 months, and cut, we had an office, we kind of shut the office down, to save on rent. We sold the furniture to kind of make,
oh, wow.
to make money.
Oh, wow. Did your wife come to you at some point and just say, hey, Maya, go get a job?
No, I think it was too early then. But yeah, there were those moments where, in the middle of all of that, where you just be I could just be at McKinsey now, and not, and not be bothered about this, Exactly, and every time it's like the 24th of the month is approaching, you are like, oh shit, it's
Yeah.
payday, and all of that, right? We actually had to, so we did end up having to actually do some consulting to, at the end of the day, to kind of pay the bill. 'Cause after a while, I was basically like, okay, look, this thing is taking off, we are still building, we've got bills to pay. It was basically either look to raise money or, but we didn't want to raise at the time because, you kind of want to have some validation, in the market before you go out and take other people's money. And so, myself and my co-founder, were ex-consultant. That was the one thing we knew we could do very quickly. So we kind of started to split our time probably for about, I think we did that for about 6 to 9 month period where we were splitting our time. A lot of it though was like, we did some tech related consulting. We had engineers, and so we also built product for other people just to kind of like bring in extra cash, right? I think these are the things that like entrepreneurship teaches you is, you need to like adapt very quickly or you will die,